I never believed I could help you walk again, until an unexpected turn changed everything. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The moment my heart plummeted into a pit of despair. There he was, my brother Sam, once the light of my life, and now a shadow trapped in a wheelchair. His laughter, the spark, the relentless energy lost to a brutal flash of fate. A car crash. In an instant, the world had shifted. The weight of his sorrow settled heavy on my chest. I brushed my trembling hands over the frayed wheels of his chair, feeling the cold metal bite against my skin. No more running. Jess, he whispered. Those words pierced through me like a shard of glass. How could I answer? How could I tell the person who once beat me in every race that he might never run again? We were inseparable, two halves of the same vibrant heart. Now, it felt like I was holding a ghost. Mom was lost in her own grief, barely eating, her eyes endlessly tracing the floor. Dad was distant, buried in work. It was the silence that screamed the loudest, the tension hanging thick in the air. I was desperate for a glimmer of hope, something, anything to pull us back from this abyss. Then came the letter. Ripped and worn, a crumpled piece of paper that arrived 2 weeks later. It smelled faintly of burnt sage, an aroma that wrapped around my senses, tugging me closer. It was an invitation to a secret place, a clinic rumored to be able to heal the impossible. My hands shook as I read the words. Transformative treatment, miraculous outcomes, rare methods. Something in me hardened. I had to believe. I had to fight for him. I could almost see the glisten of hope ignite in Sam's eyes if we dared to step into this unseen world together. The sky outside darkened, ominous clouds swirling like the uncertainty in my heart. Did I dare to hold on to this possibility? Would it lead us to salvation or deeper into despair? Just then, the phone rang. The sound ripped through the stillness, sharp and jarring. I jumped, my heart racing. As I picked it up, my fingers were icy, every muscle tense. Is this Jessica? A voice crackled, smooth and laced with something sinister. You'll want to come to the clinic. But be warned, not everyone leaves the same. A chill slithered down my spine. My breath caught in my throat. What did that mean? What awaited us beyond those doors? The air buzzed with unspoken fear and anticipation. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The whispers of uncertainty swirled around me as I hung up the phone, the weight of the man's words settling heavily on my chest. I could barely breathe. What did he mean by not everyone leaves the same? I glanced over at Sam, his dark eyes searching my face for answers, but I had none. I felt like I was standing on the edge of a chasm, ready to leap into the unknown for him. Jess? Who was that? He asked, his voice a fragile thread in the thick air of our dimly lit living room. A doctor from the clinic. I tried to keep my voice steady, but the tremor was undeniable. They want us to come in, his brow furrowed, and there was a flicker of hope amidst the despair that had shrouded him for weeks. What do we do? I swallowed hard, the knot of fear tightening in my stomach. We go. We have to. The words fell from my lips with a courage I didn't entirely feel. But behind that fear floated a flicker of determination, a tiny flame urging me to fight for him. The next day felt stretched, as if time itself was conspiring to prolong the agony. As we drove to the clinic, I watched Sam's reflection in the rearview mirror. Each bump in the road seemed to jolt him back to the life he once knew, the life where races were won, laughter echoed, and hope bloomed in every corner. The clinic stood before us, an unassuming building draped in an unsettling silence, its facade lacking the warmth one might hope for in a sanctum of healing. I couldn't shake the feeling that it was watching us, holding our journey in the palm of its hand. As we approached, a man clad in a crisp suit emerged from the shadows of the door, his expression unreadable. "Welcome," he said, gesturing toward the entrance. His voice was smooth, almost oily, as he continued, "You must be the Thompsons. We've been expecting you." I couldn't find the strength to respond. We stepped inside, and a potent mixture of hope and anxiety coursed through me. The scent of burnt sage lingered in the air, mingling with something metallic and cold. A woman passed us in the hallway, her eyes glossy and unfocused. She didn't engage, didn't even look at us, just floated by, wrapped in her own world of pain. Right this way, the man waved, leading us to a small room filled with soft lighting and strange, futuristic equipment. We'll conduct an initial assessment to determine the best course of action. The heartbeats between us drummed louder. Sam's hands tightened on the arms of his wheelchair, a barrier he had been living behind for far too long. I leaned closer to him, offering solace, but deep within my heart was the seedling of fear. What would it mean for him to not leave the same? The man began his examination, machine beeping softly. Each sound felt like a countdown. "You will need to trust the process," he said, not making eye contact as he scribbled notes. "Change can be difficult. However, it often leads to unimaginable outcomes. Unimaginable outcomes." A shiver ran down my spine. I glanced nervously at Sam, whose face conveyed a mix of determination and dread. Did he grasp the weight of the man's words? Did he get that ours was a gamble with no guarantees? "Are you ready?" the man finally asked, breaking the thick tension in the room. "Ready for what?" I shot back, fear igniting my voice. "What happens next?" A fleeting smile touched his lips, but it didn't reach his eyes. "The treatment involves deep mental and physical engagement. Sometimes, it requires you to dig into places you never wanted to visit. Are you both prepared for that?" Before I could respond, a loud crash echoed from the hallway, shattering the fragile stillness of our moment. The door burst open, and a young woman stumbled in, panting and disheveled. "You can't go through with this. You have to turn back. It's not what they say it is." My breath caught in my throat as I stared at her wild eyes. The pit of despair that had been forming in my stomach expanded into something darker. Sam looked at me, uncertainty clouding his face, and I felt like I was standing at the precipice of hope and hopelessness. "Please, let us help you," the suited man said, his tone calm yet unnerving. "But make a decision swiftly. Time is not on our side." In that moment, everything I thought I knew about hope and healing felt precarious. I clutched Sam's hand tightly, feeling his pulse race beneath my fingertips. What were we willing to risk for the chance to reclaim his life? Uncertainty loomed over us like an ominous storm, waiting to unleash fury. As I pondered our choices, the woman's desperate voice echoed in my mind, intertwining with the man's warnings, leaving me teetering on the edge of a precipice. Did we jump into the unknown, or did we run back into the life we once knew? I stole a glance at Sam, and for the first time in weeks, I felt the heaviness begin to lift just a little, as if a fragile thread connected us to a world of possibility. Then, without warning, a loud alarm blared through the clinic, and the lights flickered ominously. "You need to decide now," the man urged, his calm facade cracking under urgency. My heart raced, caught in a whirlwind of fear, hope, and turmoil. What awaited us on the other side of this choice? There was no turning back. The moment had arrived, shattering, tumultuous. Would this path be our redemption or our undoing? The moment unfolded in a cacophony of emotions and disruptions, a collision where hope and dread wrestled for prominence. I stood paralyzed, hand clasped around Sam's, his warmth grounding me even as the world around us tumbled into chaos. The alarm shrilled like a wounded animal, resonating deeply within the hollow space of my heart. "Jess!" Sam's voice cut through the noise, a desperate yet steady anchor. His eyes, usually filled with uncertainty, now mirrored an urgency that made my insides twist. "What's happening?" "I don't know," I choked out, my voice strained and wavering as the man in the suit moved methodically yet purposefully across the room. His calm demeanor only magnified the prevailing tension, as though he were in on a secret that we were not privy to. "We need to make a decision. Do you trust me?" Sam said, the sincerity in his eyes piercing through the din. I felt the wave of uncertainty crashing over us like an overwhelming tide, but beneath it, I sensed a resilient current of hope pushing us onward. "I trust you," I whispered, my voice a fragile vow that hung between us, buoyed by the flicker of strength I had glimpsed in him. If summoned by our promise. The crash of the alarm abruptly ceased, replaced by the ominous echo of footsteps pounding in the corridor. The suited man turned sharply, his expression betraying the veneer of calm he had held so tightly. "We don't have much time," he insisted, voice now laced with urgency. "You must decide now." Before I could process the revelation tethering between us, the young woman from earlier burst back through the door, breathless, and with an even greater intensity than before. "Listen to me. You can't trust them. I'm telling you enough." The man's voice morphed, sharp as a whip. "You're not a part of this. I need you to leave, you know? Don't let them," she screamed, but his interruption drowned her out. Sam's fingers tightened around mine, a single electric connection binding our hopes and fears. We stood on the brink of one decision that could change everything, but a rivulet of doubt trickled into my mind. What if we made the wrong choice? "Jess, we can walk away," Sam said, his gaze steady and intense. "If she's right," the uncertainty swirled in my chest, threatening to suffocate me. "But what if that means losing this chance?" "Chance for what? More pain?" His voice resonated, the honest reflection of his struggle, his fight against the uncertainty of what healing truly meant. I could see the shifting shadows in his eyes, fear, yearning, the desperate wish to move beyond his physical confines. But at what cost? Just then, the suave man stepped forward, bringing calm back into the room with a suggestion, a spark of care hidden beneath his hard exterior. "You'll have support," he offered in a tone that barely masked desperation, "if you stay." What kind of support? My mind raced, grappling with the possibility that outside this room, meaning again sat cloaked in darkness. "The kind that has changed lives," he replied, gaze steady but harboring an air of uncertainty. "It's transformation, but it's not easy. You can't just look at the surface. You must delve into the depths where memories lie, hidden painful memories that need to rise before you can heal." "I can't," Sam started, but I cut him off, our eyes locking in a silent upheaval of emotions. I could see the battle within him, the hope for a future tugging against the fear of revisiting past traumas. "We have to decide, Sam," I said softly, my voice a soothing balm. "Do we fight, or do we let this slip away?" In the hesitance that enveloped us, I caught a glimmer of unexpected light. A nurse entered quietly, her presence calming the unsettled energy in the room. She approached with care, her demeanor warm and sincere, and with kindness in her eyes. She whispered to Sam, "I've seen people walk away from their pasts, Sam. But you must first confront it. It's worth every tear, every moment of anguish." Our eyes widened, drawn to this empathetic stranger who dared to hold hope amidst uncertainty. "You don't have to do it alone," she continued, her voice a melody against the discord. "We're here to help you. Then you'll both help each other," the man added quickly, sensing the shreds of faith woven within her words. "This is not merely treatment. It's a relationship with this process." Sam's charted expression swayed between skepticism and longing, yet I could see the tiniest flicker of curiosity beginning to ignite within him. What if he began hesitantly? "What if I really could do this?" "If you believe in it," said the nurse, "then I promise you the journey will be worth it. But it starts with one step of faith." With her words enveloping us in warmth, a surge surged through me. Could we gather the courage to step into the unknown? My heart raced with both longing and dread. Hope echoed louder than my fears in that moment. The stillness stretched out once more, broken only by the breaths we shared together, charged with possibility. But then, without warning, the floor trembled beneath us, a low rumble reverberating like a warning sign. My heart jumped in my chest, an earthquake of fear. Intensive recalibration. "We cannot wait any longer," the suited man cried, his artificial calm dissolving into urgency as the lights flickered ominously above us. My pulse quickened as I grasped hold of Sam even tighter, the weight of our looming decision crashing down with the weight of seismic intensity. "What do we do?" I pleaded, torn between a heartbeat of fear and a flicker of strength igniting from Sam's steadfast gaze. And then, just as realization pierced the tension that held us captive, the clinic door shuttered. The woman who had warned us earlier stood in the threshold, her face pale but resolute. "You have to choose now. It's the only way you'll ever have a chance," but her words were drowned out by the deep murmurs that crawled around us. Everything was shifting, morphing into a whirlpool of choices and consequences. As I held Sam's gaze, I understood. Hope and fear danced a delicate ballet. Poised silently on the edge of our fate, that we were at the cliff's edge, And as the world around us churned in turmoil, I knew this choice would define not just the next chapter, but our entire journey moving forward. Would we dare to leap together into the unknown? Or would we shrink back, burdened by the weight of yesterday? Together, Jess, Sam whispered, his voice a promise that lingered in the air. In that moment, I felt an inch of resolve coil around the flickering flame within me, ready to trample on the shadows and dive into the depths of possibility. But fate was not finished with us yet. As the tremors grew louder, the air thickened with tension. And then something shattered just outside the door. A blood-curdling scream echoed through the dimly lit clinic, freezing us all in place, our choice teetering on the brink of collapse. In that moment, the gravity of our surroundings bore down heavily, and I understood. The unknown awaited us, unscripted, chaotic. Would we be brave enough to step into it? Would we survive what lay ahead? I wasn't sure whether the chilling scream had come from within the clinic or outside its walls, but it reverberated through the sterile environment, sending waves of panic swirling around us. The room, once filled with tentative hope, now dripped with uncertainty. Jess. Sam's grip tightened on my hand, his voice thick with both fear and determination. What's going on? The nurse looked pale, her eyes widening in shock. Don't know, but we need to stay calm. Yet her own voice trembled, the steadiness she exuded crumbling under the weight of reality. Stay? In the middle of whatever that is. I replied, inching closer to Sam. The din of the world beyond felt like a rising tide, one that threatened to wash us away, just as we had begun to find our footing on solid ground. Technically, you have the option, the man in the suit interjected, his demeanor wavering. But you should be fully aware of what awaits you. He hesitated, scanning the faces in the room. You can leave. But full disclosure, you may not find safety out there. At a heartbeat passed, laced with the sound of distant chaos, shattering glass and muffled shouts came through the walls, like a storm brewing on the horizon. As I turned to Sam, I caught him staring at the door, a flicker of courage dawning in his blue eyes. What if we go out there? He proposed, his voice low. What if we go out there? I interrupted, scanning the uncertain faces of the others. We have no idea what's happening. We could walk into the very place we are trying to escape, or we could find answers, Sam countered. There was something electric in his tone, a magnetic pull towards the unknown. It was as if he saw the situation for what it was, a chance to confront not just the outer chaos, but the unresolved past that lingered like a shadow behind his heart. Between us, the nurse's eyes pleaded for calm. We don't know if it's safe out there, but there could be people who need help. You need to decide quickly. Before I could respond, the woman who had been warning us earlier pushed her way back into the room, her wild hair a testament to her urgency. You have to come with me, she shouted, searching the faces in the room. You're stronger than you think. If you stay, you could lose everything. Her breath came in fits, a mix of adrenaline and fear propelling her words. Lose everything? The suited man challenged, his voice thick with reproach. The future is out there. In here, you're only prolonging your pain. The deeper we fell into the chaos of conflicting realities, the more I felt the weight of everyone's fears pressing against me. Sam's anguish, the nurse's desperation, and the woman's frantic hope. It felt like a tug-of-war between safety and a glimmering chance at something more. What do you see in the future? What future are you even choosing? I shot back, my voice rising with each heartbeat, frustration boiling over. We could have clarity, Jess, Sam interjected, his gaze steady on me. You said you trusted me. I trust you too. But trust doesn't erase fear, I replied, my heart pounding. What if we're made to confront what we're running from? What if we're hurt? Sam stepped closer, and in that moment, it dawned on me heaviness that clung to our hearts was not just the fear of the unknown, it was the fear of confronting our truths head-on. Would I be courageous enough to face what lay buried within me? With a deep breath, I stepped away from the group, my heart a wild thing in my chest. We can't just stand here. We have to decide now. The room fell silent. A collective breath held as we considered the weight of our fate. I could feel Sam's eyes planted on me, willing me to see the glimmers of resolution that shone behind the clouds in his heart. I fear all the pain that's hidden within me, I admitted, my voice quavering, but I also fear being trapped in this cycle of uncertainty. What if moving forward is the only way to break free? The tension swelled, wrapping us in an electric cocoon. Our shared anguish ignited a sense of urgency. And just as I was about to gather the courage to make a move, the world outside the clinic erupted. In a cacophony of sound shouts, crashes, and then a blinding flash of light illuminated the darkened corners of the room. Fire. A voice yelled, shaking the air as it echoed inside. A searing heat swept through the corridor, turning whispers of fear into a storm of panic. We can't stay here. We have to move. The nurse shouted, her calm now gone completely. The reality struck like cracks of thunder, igniting a long-dormant spark. We were out of time. Suddenly, I could feel Sam moving closer, as if to shield me from the storm brewing just beyond the door. Just now, he urged, grabbing my hand as he pulled me towards the doorway. But just before we could cross the threshold, the door burst open, and a wave of smoke billowed in, filling the air with an acrid smell of burning memories and unrealized hopes. Go, the young woman from earlier cried, her voice desperate as she gestured wildly for us to escape. This is a chance. Take it. But in the throes of chaos, as I stood frozen between what lay inside this room and the nightmarish reality outside, I felt all sense of control slip through my fingers. Sam. I screamed over the cacophony, but his gaze was fixed ahead, fueled by an unfathomable strength he hadn't revealed before. Ready? No, I shouted, reaching out to him, caught in a tumultuous tide of fear and hopious sentiment that swirled violently within me. We can't go alone. But before I could comprehend what was happening, he had pulled me through the doorway, into the billowing uncertainty beyond, leaving behind the echoes of unfinished decisions. The world outside was unrecognizable. Distant shouts mingled with crackling flames that danced in the darkness, casting eerie shadows around us. And just as I turned to urge caution, a sudden roar blared behind us, a shockwave of energy that rocked the very earth beneath our feet. In that breathless moment, my heart raced with the realization that we were not just running from a decision, but racing towards an unknown fate that could change everything. And as I turned to ensure Sam was still at my side, the shadows morphed into something more, a figure lurking at the edge of the flickering flames, watching us with intent, a presence that could either save us or lead us further into the shadows. Jess, Sam shouted, pulling me to him as the figure stepped forward into the light, his features coming sharp into focus, a face etched with memories I thought long buried, someone I never imagined I would see again. Did you miss me? The figure smirked, dark and menacing, like a specter revisiting a haunting past. In that moment, the weight of my unresolved fears crashed down around me, and I felt the fragile thread of hope fracture beneath the crushing reality of what had just stepped into our chaos. The fire raged behind us like a living entity, a beast awakened by our hurried steps, swallowing the safety we had desperately clung to just moments before. I tried to process the figure emerging from the shadows, its face flooding my mind with turbulent memories I had fought to forget. Is it really you? I gasped, confusion tearing at my heart. The voice, the smirk, it all too painfully belonged to someone from a past that felt like another lifetime. Missed me? His words dripped with sarcasm, yet beneath that lay an unsettling familiarity that sent shivers down my spine. The piercing dark eyes that had once burned with unfulfilled promises now glinted with a challenge that made my palms sweat. Jordan? I managed to whisper, his name more an accusation than a recognition. It didn't matter how many times I worked to erase him from my soul. Here he was, resurrected from memories I thought I had sealed away. The chaos around us, both the flames and the turmoil raging through my heart, melded into an alarming backdrop for this impossible reunion. Sam, still gripping my hand, shifted protectively in front of me, as if to shield me from the ghost of my past. What are you doing here? Sam's tone was taut, a low growl rumbling in the depths of his chest, echoing the fear and uncertainty threading through both of us. Just trying to help, Jordan replied casually, his eyes sweeping past us towards the clinic. That fire isn't just a coincidence. You should know that everyone in there isn't as innocent as they seem. They need to be exposed for what they truly are. Help? I spat, each word kissed with disbelief. You think showing up now is your version of help? After what you did? Let's focus on survival first, Jess. Then we can discuss old issues, he said smoothly, brushing off my anger like dust from his shoulders. You need me, whether you want to admit it or not. This place is a trap, and I promise it's only going to get worse. You've already seen how dark it can get. You're lucky to have escaped, but not for long. That I trembled, grappling with conflicting feelings that threatened to drown me. Jordan had always held a power over me, a seductive pull I couldn't shake off. But even in that internal battle, I couldn't forget how he had disappeared when I needed him most, leaving me to face untold pain alone. Before I could respond, the distant wails engulfed our conversation. Urgency buzzed in the air, a reminder of the danger that lurked close behind and within us. Every second counts. Sam cut in, his protective instincts igniting like wildfire. What makes you think we can trust you, Jordan? We've fought too hard to get to this point to trade our trust for your manipulations. Go ahead, then. Jordan's mouth twisted into a coy smile, one that somehow made his threat feel even more real. Ignore me. But when the walls close in and there's nowhere left to run, don't say I didn't warn you. I'm offering you a way out. Just remember that at the end of the day, you're the one holding the decision in your hands. Why would you help us? I asked again, my voice softer, faltering. Maybe I was hoping, against all evidence, that he had changed, that he was here for the right reasons. Because I can't let you walk into your own demise, he replied, his tone edged with sincere urgency that took me by surprise. You think you can just run from your past? From what you felt? This isn't a game, Jess. There are things you still haven't come to terms with. As the words hung suspended between us, a hint of vulnerability flickered in his expression, and in that brief moment, I saw a person seeking redemption, however flawed. Then came another explosion, a thunderous roar that shook the ground beneath us, sending debris spiraling past our sheltered bodies. The moment jolted me back into reality, and clarity began to weave its way through my thoughts. Sam, we can't linger here, I urged, the overwhelming chaos merging with my instinct for survival. We have to decide. We trust him, or do we keep running? Sam's expression was conflicted, uncertainty surfacing in his eyes as he glanced between Jordan and the distant, glowing inferno threatening to swallow us whole. This is where it gets reckless, Jess. Can we really afford to take another risk? I took a step toward Jordan, the familiar tug of his presence against my chaotic feelings, past and present intertwined like an uncontrollable vine. If there's a chance he's right, I began, but Sam interjected, straining against reason. Or a chance he could lead us straight into the hands of danger. The danger is already here. Jordan shot back with irritation, his patience waning like the flickering flames behind us. Please, listen to me. I have my reasons. Tension crackled, spinning around us as I stood dazed between two choices, my heart heavy with desperation and longing for something to latch onto. Sam, please, I whispered, searching his gaze for reassurance. What do we do? In this moment of breathless uncertainty, Jordan stepped closer, his voice softer, almost a plea. Sometimes, the past must be harnessed to forge a path forward. Follow me. I can help you both walk away from this together. But time is running out. And just as my hand hovered between the cracks of trust and fear, the echo of a scream pierced through the air, a distant, familiar voice that rang with anguish and dread. Jess. Sam. My heart plummeted, recognition dawning a chilling truth as we whipped around to see another figure emerging from the smoky, a familiar silhouette framed against the chaos. Someone I had never expected. Mom. Panic surged through me, knocking the breath from my lungs. Her voice sent shockwaves of fear and love racing through my heart, a tether pulling me toward her, even in the midst of the hell unfolding around us. And just like that, everything I thought I knew shattered under the weight of a new revelation. Would I have to face not only my past, but what was intertwined with my present? Would I risk it all to reach for her amidst the flames? The small threads of hope I had clung to flickered dangerously as a flood of uncertainty crashed into my realicious storm, threatening to rip apart everything I had ever fought to shield. Each moment inched toward a precipice, urging me to make a choice that could change everything once again. The silhouette grew clearer as the chaos unfolded around us, revealing a heart-stopping image of my mother, her face smeared with ash and her eyes wide with fear. My heart seized. The warmth of her presence, an intoxicating rush that clashed violently against the dread of our circumstances. Mom, over here, I shouted, my voice breaking through the cloud of panic that enveloped me. I took a step forward, driven by instinct, but Sam's grip tightened on my arm, a hold that was both protective and restraining. Jess, no. He hissed urgently. We don't know what's happening. It could be a trap. But in that moment, a rush of adrenaline coursed through me, dulling the echo of his caution. I had endured so much. I couldn't let another fragment of my past be swept away in the flames. Not her. Jordan, can we reach her? I turned to him, desperation dripping from my voice. Please, I need your help. His gaze shifted between me and the encroaching flames, weighing the risks. Yet, within that moment of uncertainty, a flicker of determination ignited in his eyes. We can do it, but we need to move fast. Stick close to me and stay low to the ground. He grabbed my wrist and pulled me toward him, then gestured for Sam to follow. Let's go, I shouted, breaking into a run toward my mother, who was now stumbling forward, her figure wavering like a mirage against the raging inferno. But with each step I took, I felt the ground shifting beneath me, conflict of trusting Jordan dragging at my heart. Flames licked at my feet as we moved, the heat wrapping around us like chains, threatening to ensnare us all. My heart raced not just from fear, but from the flood of memories working their way back into my consciousness. I remembered summers spent with her in the backyard, laughter echoing in the evening light. The way she would brush my hair while whispering dreams of the future I feared we would never see again. My memories were punctuated by Jordan's voice, reminding me of past failures, of missed opportunities. Jess, focus. He was beside me, nudging me forward each time my feet threatened to freeze with panic. You need to get to her, but you have to trust me. Trust. That bitter word hung in the air, tasting both sweet and poisonous. I wanted to believe that he was here for us, that he meant no harm. But every fiber of my being wrestled with skepticism. Could I risk everything once again just to break down the barriers between my fear and the love that had once felt so unshakable? Suddenly, a shadow darted past us, and the sound of heavy breathing echoed nearby. Yet all I could think about was the sight of my mother reaching out, her fingers grasping at the air like she was in a dream. Mom, keep coming, I shouted, barely aware of the crackling of the flames scuttling in our direction. It was like a dance of death, the flames swirling around us, taunting our attempts to escape. Jess. Sam. Her voice rang out again, laced with panic. I could see her face twisted with pain, fear drawing lines across her forehead. Time was slipping through my fingers like grains of sand, and the distance between us felt insurmountable for a moment that stretched endlessly. Just as I surged forward, I heard a shriek that made my blood run cold, a heart-stopping sound that echoed the cries of a child, and oh, no. My heart dropped as I turned to see a little boy trapped beneath a fallen beam, his tiny body trembling, eyes wide in terror. A cruel twist of fate had wrought chaos upon this scene, the fire too rampant and far too eager to take more lives. Sam caught my gaze, his expression a mixture of horror and determination. We can't just leave him, Jess. We can't. Jordan, however, hesitated, his brow furrowed, as if calculating the danger of diversifying our efforts. If we help him, we'll expose ourselves more. I don't care. I shot back, my voice a mixture of anguish and conviction. We can't turn away now. With every instinct I possessed screaming for me to go to my mother, my heart repeated the call of compassion for the boy in peril. We have to split up. He'll go to him. You two get Mom too. Safety. No, Jess. Sam protested, his voice thick with emotion. We can't afford to divide. But it was my decision, and in that moment, I felt the weight of it settle heavy on my shoulders. I was the only one who could make this choice, and if it meant entering the flames once again, that was the sacrifice I was willing to make. Jordan, I yelled, desperation emanating from my voice. Help him. In the chaos, I ran toward the boy, the searing heat wrapping around me like tendrils trying to pull me back. My breath came in short gasps, a combination of fear as I aimed for that glimmer of hope in the heart of the blaze. Each step pressed forward, adrenaline surged through my veins, my body flaring with determination as I reached the beam that trapped him. I crouched beside him, placing my hands on his arm. Hold on, okay? I'm right here. I tried not to think about how dangerous this was, how quickly the flames were advancing. But as I braced myself to lift the beam, a sudden chill surged through the air, tearing at my resolve. Then came a roar, a sound that transcended the fire. It sent a shockwave through the very ground beneath us. The flames shifted direction, roaring greedily, enveloping everything in their path. "Jess," I heard Sam's voice, barely a murmur in the deafening chaos, blending with the frantic cries around us. "Just a bit more." I grunted as I heaved against the wooden ruin. But the boy's wide, terrified eyes were locked on something beyond me, and I turned, chills racing down my spine. There, breaking through the smoke and ash, was a figure clothed in dark shadows, an unnatural presence that made my skin crawl. The flames crackled wildly, flaring up, casting eerie light against the twisted face that had emerged from the shadows, one that bore an unsettling resemblance to someone I had long buried in my past. "Jordan, don't let this happen." But the words were stifled in my throat as an unexpected hand clasped onto my shoulder. And in that moment, realization clawed through the air like I see an unexpected twist that shattered everything I fought to hold together. As I struggled against the inferno, my heart sank at the sudden realization that trust might have ever been a fleeting whisper, and now, the worst was yet to come. The cold truth loomed before me, enveloping me like the flames that remained relentless in their pursuit, and the question echoed, who could I truly allow to guide me through the fire? The world around me pulsed with a ferocity fueled by flames and fear, yet amid the chaos, a stifling silence wrapped around my heart as I stared into the eyes of someone I never expected to see again. The face that haunted my childhood nightmares now loomed at the edge of the inferno, shadowed by the flickering firelight. It was my father. "Jess," he rasped, a voice both familiar and utterly foreign. The word was laden with a longing I had long believed died with my childhood. "I've come to get you." A flood of emotions crashed over me: anger, confusion, betrayal. I had spent years sculpting my identity around the absence he had left, filling the void with resilience and independence. And now, here he was, an unwelcome specter from my past fighting to claw back into my life amid flames that I felt the little boy's trembling hand slip from my grasp as I turned, and my heart raced. "No," I shouted, the panic racing through my veins as I wrestled with the reality unraveling before me. "You're not real. This isn't how it works." But the shadows deepened into something more substantial, and my father stepped closer, forcing his way through the chaos. I could see the wild desperation in his eyes, as though he had been torn from the rift of time itself, coming back to claim what once had been. But did I even want to know what he had to offer? In one blink, I was transported back to the house where I'd spent countless summers wishing for him to return, wishing he would have been there to hold me when the world felt heavy. Yet now, the weight of his return blurred the lines between longing and loathing. "Why now?" I spat, my voice cracking under the weight of unresolved pain. "You abandoned us. You left me." Behind me, the boy's cries intensified as he fought against the beam pinning him down. My instincts begged me to stay and help him, but I felt the ground shift beneath me as my father reached out, his fingers brushing the scorched wood of the fallen beam. "Jess, trust me," he said, each syllable a layer of an unspoken plea. "I can help you if you let me." But how could I trust a man who hadn't shown up for any pivotal moment of my life, who had turned his back on us when we needed him most? Yet here he was, intensifying the flames of my emotional conflict, dragging me back into the depths of my unresolved resentment. And oh, I screamed, pulling away. Not now. Not with everything at stake. My heart ached as I turned back to the boy, reinforcing my resolve, desperate to help him survive this nightmare. I couldn't lose him to the flames, not when I could still do something. "Jordan," I cried, my plea desperately reaching out for connection amidst all this uncertainty. "Why aren't you helping him?" I could see him move, calculating how to wrestle not just my mother to safety, but also the boy I had come to know through his fragile cries. "I need to get your mom," he called back, hesitant, torn between responsibilities as the darkness loitered behind him, threatening to envelop us all. "I can't divide my focus, Jess." I gnawed at my lip, the weight of choices fractures forcing their way to the fore of my mind. The cycle of loss and betrayal felt so undeniably real, threatening to swallow me whole. "I can't just stand here." With determination, I turned to my father, who had now taken another step closer, a look of urgency plastered across his face. "You want to help? Then help me free him. Please." The desperation was palpable, each word mingling with the acrid smoke swirling in the air around us. For just a brief moment, I saw a flicker of the father I once loved within him, and the shadows around us seemed to lessen. He nodded, moving toward me, positioned beside the beam. "What do I do?" he asked, his voice trembling amidst the chaos surrounding us. I could hardly believe it, each fragmented memory rushing into my mind, a lifetime of emotion threatening to engulf me. Yet I had to center myself. "On the count of 3. We live together?" "Okay," he replied, and though a part of me screamed to distrust him, the other part yearned for the flicker of hope that he could do something right this time. 1, 2, 3. Together, we pushed against the weight that bore down on the little boy, grunting as we moved with a ferocity I hardly knew I possessed. The beam creaked and groaned, but did not yield. That I know. "Please, I can't hold on," the boy cried out, panic flooding his voice. "Just a little more," I shouted, every ounce of strength and memory pouring into my plea. This moment had to matter not just for me, but for the sake of redemption burned in the flames of despair. With one last push, a shriek erupted from the wood, and suddenly, the beam cracked, shuddering as it lifted just enough for the boy to wriggle free. "Come on." I held out my hand, the spark of hope igniting against the suffocating despair surrounding us. Yet, before he could reach me, a violent eruption shook the ground. The fire roared, breaking free from containment, swallowing the shadows whole, and I froze as I looked up. My father had stepped back, as if drawn from an unseen force. "Jess," he shouted, his face shifting into despair. "Run." As the inferno roared around us, engulfing shadows and reality, I was faced with an agonizing choice: save my father, the man I had yearned for and loathed, or the little boy whose life hung by a thread. Time slowed as I hesitated, torn between the past that threatened to consume me and the future I desperately wanted to secure. The flickering flames danced menacingly, casting foreboding shadows upon the choice I needed to make. As the weight of the moment crashed down, everything fell into darkness. The air thickened, filling my lungs with desperation, and all hope of salvaging our escape faded into the chaos around us. And just as I reached to grab the boy's frail hand, I heard a sickening crack and felt the ground shift beneath me. Panic surged through my veins as the boy's terrified expression mirrored my own. "Jess, watch out," Sam bellowed from a distance. But his warning was drowned in the cacophony around me as I was swept into a world of chaos, leaving behind all the rational choices I had tried to make in that pivotal moment. Everything I had hoped for stood due east, yet as the dark shadow moved closer, one last anguished question lingered in my heart. I was forced to wonder not just who I could trust, but who I would become in this relentless blaze. The world erupted around me into chaos, the heat of the flames scorching against my skin as I fell back, gasping for air. Time stretched, a surreal expanse where I teetered on the edge of recklessness, catching glimpses of both the boy and my father's fading hope. For a moment, the smoke mingled with sorrow and desperation, blurring the lines between choices I never wanted to make. As I scrambled to regain my footing, the ground beneath me felt precarious, the jagged edges of broken wood jabbing into my palms. I got up, pushing forward, my instincts fueled by adrenaline and the memory of the boy's desperate cries. "Jordan," I called hoarsely, my voice strained as I fought against the encroaching shadows. The boy had squeezed through, narrowly escaping the beam's crushing weight, yet his small form was balled up against the flames, eyes wide with fear. I sprinted towards him, the heat licking at my skin, each step feeling heavier than the last. "Jess, over here. Help." Jordan's voice broke through the roars of fire, a shard of clarity amid the turmoil in that fleeting moment. I felt the world tilt again. My father's anguished expression had morphed from desperate hope to pure panic. "You have to go. We're out of time." His voice was a ragged plea, cutting through the swirling smoke, reminding me of all I despised yet still yearned to embrace. I turned back, heart pounding, and saw the flickering silhouette of my father bathed in crimson light, but behind him, an even darker shadow loomed, a collapsing structure, threatening to end everything in a single grotesque instant. My pulse quickened. "Now, Jess, please." I jolted forward, reaching for the boy. "I'm coming." The flames danced wickedly, a living entity clawing at the very essence of my resolve. I dove to the ground, feeling the heat radiating around me, praying that I could somehow shield him from it. Even as I pulled him into my arms, the roar of chaos surged like a tidal wave. Let's go. We can make it. I struggled to lift him, his small weight igniting a surge of determination. Yet the flames cut through the air, filling it with an acrid scent, drawing closer with sinister intent. No. My father's voice rang with urgency, raw and desperate as the pillars of flames sparked up, enveloping him in a shroud of fire. I glanced backward at the very man I had spent years resenting, the man I had once cherished as a child. I saw him face the inferno, raw emotion etched across his featureless mosaic of vulnerability that cracked open the barrier of hate I had fortified around my heart. Go. You have to save him. It's what I failed to do. His voice shook, every word a hammer striking against the stone of my heart. Please. A rift formed in my being, pooling with memories of abandonment and betrayal that warred against something else, something approaching soft clarity. Could I truly let everything I loathed slip away in the heat of the moment? Every child-long wish of having a father etched into the fabric of the flames begged to be realized. Torn between my instincts to fight for the boy in my arms and the echoes of an invisible connection attempting to draw me toward my father, I hesitated. I felt time bidding its cruel farewell as the world collapsed around me, gearing up for a moment both surreal and unwelcome. Jess. Jordan's frightened voice jolted me back to the present, a twinge of urgency that broke the fog. Please. With renewed determination, I focused on him, the boy who had slipped into my life like a ray of light during a time when shadows loomed. Hang on, I shouted, thrusting my heart into the struggle, pouring every ounce of my strength into pulling him closer. The inferno roared in warning, a sinister creature unwilling to let us escape this time. But as we turned to run, the ground beneath us shifted dangerously again, a rusted beam buckling and groaning under the weight of fire and time. My heart slammed in my chest, an avalanche of fear doubling me over as I pulled Jordan tightly against me, laboring through the seething pain, branding my flesh. Go. My father shouted, a last desperate plea that echoed painfully in my core. I twisted back, wanting to scream back that I couldn't abandon him, couldn't leave behind the very possibility of connection, of forgiveness, of understanding. Yet the fierceness of the flames swelled menacingly, flooding my senses. Jess. Jordan's voice pierced through the feral chaos, pulling me back into focus. What do we do? And just like that, a new perspective slipped in, amidst the flickers of orange and the sheen of despair hanging low in the atmosphere. It ignited a new spark within me, a vision of freedom I had believed impossible. I cradled Jordan tightly against me. We run. For both of them. Suddenly a mighty crash reverberated through the air as part of the structure caved in closer, igniting the ground beneath us. And yet, in that moment of impending doom, two hands engulfed in the glow of an amber light reached across the blackened landscape. Go. I promise I'll find you. My father's anguished cry melded with the flames, filling me with a mix of dread and strength. But as I turned to sprint toward the only ember of hope I could grasp, and felt the warmth radiating from Jordan, another sinister twist shattered my focus when a shattering scream sliced through the air, a piercing cry that wasn't mine or the boys. Someone help. We turned, and the shadows blurred together behind the fiery grip of the inferno as I instinctively raised my arm to shield my eyes. The voice echoed again, familiar and distant in a way that shattered my heart. Mom. In that fraught moment, the fire bore down on us, corrupting the air until it felt as though I was suffocating, and as the realization gripped me, I braced myself for the battle ahead. Time stood still, engulfing me in turmoil, and with every heartbeat, I faced the truth. I would have to confront more than flames if I wanted to save all of them. My heart clenched as shadows snaked across the ground, weaving threads of fate I could barely grasp, and my grip on reality felt tenuous at best. The structure behind my father quaked ominously, and the coward in me screamed to flee, but despair and strength fused as I gripped Jordan tightly and stepped toward the calamity. Come on, I urged softly, knowing in my heart that this choice would become the path that would lead me away from one kind of flame before the next would demand an even higher price. The air was a riot of heat and chaos, alive with the crackling symphony of destruction that echoed around us. The sound of collapsing timbers felt like the world shattering, a dissonant exaltation of despair. Jordan clutched tightly to me, his small frame a haunting reminder of innocence caught in the fiery grip of fate. A moment of clarity washed over me, overshadowed by the panic bubbling within. The realization that there was more to lose than just flame and smoke threaded into the fabric of my very being. Please, help. The voice cut through the cacophony like a blade of voice I had thought was lost. Mom. My heart thundered painfully against my ribcage, the name bursting like shrapnel through the suffocating air. Each syllable hung in the air, pregnant with memories of laughter and warmth, a ghost tethered to the past by an unbreakable string of longing. Jess. Jordan's terrified grip tightened as he pulled my arm, urging me forward. The flames licked higher, licking the air hungrily while I stood, frozen in a moment that felt both endless and fleeting. Stop. We can't leave her. I felt a rush of anger clawing at my insides, desperation swirling like the smoke suffocating the air around us. It was unbearable, this tug-of-war between the agony of the past and the raw need to save what was still within reach. Jess, we have to go? Jordan's plea echoed in stark contrast to my wish to rush back into the flames, to face whatever horrors lived there. His youthful innocence weighed heavy against my chest. I could feel the fragility of his spirit wrestling against the violent pull of flames. Yet, how could I forsake my mother? How could I condemn her to the ravaging tempest of fire when more than ever I craved her forgiveness, her love? Each heartbeat whispered a question laced with fear, with doubt. What kind of daughter would I be if I turned my back now? The weight of my decision was like lead in my stomach, and every moment paused on the brink of tragedy, a fragile balance keeping us suspended above despair. No, I won't leave her. The words burst free, rising above the flames and the noise, a fierce declaration that resonated through the acrid air. Jordan looked up at me, eyes wide with surprise and fear, yet I could see the flicker of determination igniting within him. Together, we can save both, he said, and in that moment, I felt an unexpected rush of hope. I couldn't let this boy down, not when he had just ignited a fire within me that mirrored the chaos around us. If he could believe in a way forward, maybe I could too. Okay, I whispered, almost to myself, trying to steady my heart. We go in, and we find her. But we stick together. Promise, I promise. His small voice was fierce. Determination etched across his features as we inched back toward the heart of chaos. My heart pounding in sync with every shudder of the collapsing structure around us. We navigated through the debris, each step a calculated risk, me clutching his arm as if he were a lifeline. The flames roared, their fierce hunger echoed the tumult within me. I led us further into the haze, feeling the heat wrap around us like a cloak, yet hope dared to flicker in the dark. Mom, I shouted again, trembling with fear, yet fueled by a desperate longing to find her. But the smoke hung thick, swirling around us like a sinister fog as shadows danced with mysterious intent. Jess, a voice emerged from the depths of despair, agonized and trembling, igniting my insides with an unbearable blend of relief and dread. Help me. A frayed wisp of sound encircled my heart and had me stopping in my tracks. I'm coming, Mom. I pushed through the encroaching chaos, urgency infusing every inhalation as I turned toward the voice. There she was, her silhouette barely visible through the flame-hued curtain. Her once radiant form was distorted by ash and despair, crumpled beneath a fallen beam-trapped. I surged forward, heart racing as a rush of conflicting emotions tore through me, threatening to shatter every barrier I had built over the years. Hold on. I can help. I screamed, choking back the fear, choking my voice. My mother's eyes met mine, and within that instant, everything blurred. The anger, the betrayal, the love I craved, all mixed together in an overwhelming pulse, the colors of our history bleeding into the flames. Jess, no. It's too late for me. Her voice fractured, an echo of painful acceptance hanging in the air like a death knell I wasn't ready to hear. No, don't say that. I rushed to her, my own resolve threatening to falter as the weight of her words squeezed down like the very embers threatening to consume us. I won't lose you. I felt Jordan at my side, steadfast as he placed his small hand on my shoulder, drawing strength from my determination. We'll save her together. And as I fought against the heavy air that threatened to crush my spirit, it felt as though a glimmer of belief began to rise in the cauldron of despair. In that moment, all I knew was that I had to try to confront the flames, not just to save my mother, but to heal the rift within myself. But just as I reached for her, the ground shifted beneath us. The groan of the structure rang deafeningly through the air, undermining the moment that felt too fragile to exist. Another shudder ran through the earth, and the shadows twisted around us. An unmistakable crack sounded, and I looked up just in time to see a large beam come crashing down, the world tilting in a cruel direction. "Jess, look out!" Jordan cried, lunging instinctively toward me. In that instant, I knew nothing would ever be the same. As the world fractured again, the genuine bond one had long thought irrevocably severed suddenly felt on the verge of a transformation I never could have predicted, leaving me standing at the precipice of destiny, ignorant of the true cost it would demand of me. The beam fell, burying everything in shadows once more, and with it, my last fleeting strand of hope twisted in the brutal dance of fate. The world crumbled into chaos around me as the heavy beam crashed down, but the moment slowed in my heart. Time stretched, and an agonizing weight anchored my feet in place, demanding a choice that transcended the fire consuming the very fabric of all I loved. I felt the ground quake beneath us, the flames snarling and flickering higher, an insatiable beast preparing to devour. "Jess," Jordan called, his small voice a fragile whisper against the cacophony of destruction. An instinct propelled me toward my mother. I spotted her in the haze, desperately reaching out. "Stay with me, Mom. I can save you." The distance closed with every instinct urging me to fight against despair, yet reality tattered the edges of hope. With each moment, the structure trembled. "Please, no." I begged the universe, my heart wrenching painfully. My mother's voice grew weaker, a shout swallowed by the roar of flames. Amidst the chaos, shadows danced wildly, and the fire leaped hungrily, threatening to eat away at the threads of my very existence. I couldn't lose her. Each syllable that fell from her lips echoed with regrets unsaid, fears unaddressed. Our history, a tapestry woven of love and heartache, unfurled before me, stark and raw. "Focus," Jordan shouted, snapping me back to the moment, a frantic plea laced with his unwavering determination. "Jess, we can do this. I know we can." I clenched my fists, the world around me teetering on the brink of destruction, while a fierce resolve ignited within me. "Together," I said, catching Jordan's gaze, a deep understanding sparking between us. But the world was closing in. Flames seethed like a furious storm, daring us to falter. A silhouette leaned closer as ash choked the air around me. "Jess, please." My mother's voice trembled as she strained against the weight pinning her. "I believe in you." In that moment, everything distilled into a singular truth: love might bind us, but it was fear that shackled us to our pain. I breathed in, willing courage to surge through me, the weight of need, of love, coiling deeper in my chest. "Hold on. I'm coming." I dropped to my knees beside her, feeling the heat claw at my skin, my heart racing. But the agonizing sight of her struggle pushed me onward. If we could face the fire together, could we not also face our broken past? "We're going to lift this thing off you," I shouted as Jordan knelt on the other side, determination flaring in his young eyes. Connecting with my mother's gaze, I swallowed the choking fear. "Mom, I know we have so much to say, but first, we have to get out of here." "Jess, I'm not worth it," she cried, her words a sharp knife through my heart, tearing apart the shadows of self-doubt that had haunted me for years. In that moment, the flickering light of the flames illuminated her anguish, revealing the truths we had danced around for far too long. "And oh, you are worth every moment. You are my mother, and we can fix this," I replied, conviction blazing through despair. We were given this chance to turn flame into redemption. I couldn't bear to believe otherwise. "Jordan, we lift on 3. 1, 2, 3. Together, we pushed against the heavy beam, sweat glistening on my brow as I channeled every ounce of love I had for her into that moment. With agonizing force, We heaved the beam, and inch by inch, it began to shift. Keep going, I grunted, every sinew in my body straining as hope and fear wrestled for control. Yes, I can feel it. Just a little more. My mother's voice rang in my ears. Suddenly, the weight shifted, and with a final push, the beam rolled away like a weight lifted from my heart. I reached for her, the fire howling around us as I pulled her from the wreckage. She fell into my arms, her body trembling as tears streamed down her face, mixing with the sweat and ash. Jess, she sobbed, a wave of realization sweeping through her voice. But the fire roared back, lunging toward us hungrily, as though jealous of our reunion. Not now? We have to go? I urged, pulling her to her feet, Jordan still at my side, undaunted by the chaos swirling around us. Together, we sprinted forward, the walls crumbling around us as I led them through the twisting, molten maze, feeling the heat singe the edges of my resolve that we stumbled toward the exit, the shifting terrain beneath us a cruel reminder of the fragility of life. I kept pushing forward, forcing every ounce of strength from deep within me. We're almost there, I shouted, closing in on the last corridor, the way out shimmering like a mirage before us. The flames engulfed the walls behind us, a furious scream rising as the inferno expanded, but all I could see was the glimmer of hope beyond the door, the light beckoning us forward. Come on, it's right there. With one final push, we launched ourselves through the threshold, bursting into the open air beyond the flames as we collapsed into the cool grass outside. Gasping for breath as the night enveloped us in its embrace, we did it today as I lay there. The heaviness of the moment finally lit upon me. Every fear I had faced, every doubt and worry that had riddled my heart dissolved against the starlit sky. I felt my mother beside me, shaking and weeping, yet breathing. The sound was so life-affirming, so raw and beautiful. And in that moment, wrapped in the aftershocks of survival, I saw Jordan sitting nearby, his small hands laced with an unexpected resolve. A bond formed, restored in the fire, forged through the very ordeal that threatened to tear us apart. I turned my gaze back toward my mother, the contours of our relationship shifting as shadows of the past intertwined with the flickers of a brighter future. I'm so sorry, Jess, she whispered, the weight of her vulnerability grounding me. I tried to protect you from my pain. Then let's face it together, I whispered, the deep layers of trust unfurling between us like petals under a gentle sun. Jordan's wide eyes glimmered with understanding, a reminder of the courage it takes to face what hurts. The past would always hold its shadows, but the light of connection warmed me more than I had ever thought possible. In the stillness that followed, I grasped my mother's hand tightly, feeling its warmth envelop my heart, a powerful promise of forgiveness, acceptance, and healing. And as the smoke of the clinic smoldered into the night behind us, I knew that life would be tumultuous, but now we had one another to light the way. It'll always be here, I said quietly, knowing this fire had forged something new between us, a chance to build upon the ashes with love. A resolution born out of chaos. The day we embraced the flames would forever be etched into our hearts, an indelible reminder that we could emerge anew, walking forward hand in hand, leaving behind not only fear, but allowing love to guide us. As dawn broke, casting soft light over the horizon, I turned to face my future, embracing the bittersweet truths that life had woven through the chaos. And in that sacred moment, I understood, together is the only way we'll make it.